I feel like they need to be mentioned, and they're sometimes not what you think, but key tips to magnificent microlocks. Hello. And I see, yeah, I see this here. If you're here, if you can see this, give a like, say where you're from. So I just wanted to welcome you to this live. I wanted to talk about some key tips. Sometimes I feel like they need to be mentioned, and they're sometimes not what you think, but key tips to magnificent microlocks. So those who know me, I'm Jessica Marshall of Naturally Beautiful Hair Care. Microlocks are small interwoven locks. They're an alternative. There are many ways to create small interwoven locks. There's a popular brand, and there are ways that are not limited by tool or branding. And so I am with Naturally Beautiful Hair Care. I've been doing microlocks for over a decade now, exclusively as its own standing brand. I use my NBHC method. You can always find more information about what I do. If you're already in this group, you see the post, you get access to my free live trainings, and I often share links and materials for you. You also can go to my website, which I link, Naturally Beautiful Hair Care, Microloc Mastery, Microloc Training, free Microloc training, multiple websites. All right, so I have an ebook, and in it, I just thought of the 10 key tips to magnificent microlocks. And I took over 10 years of my experience, and I said, I'm noticing there's certain things that need to be looked at or taken into account when creating microlocks. So I say microlocks to encompass all small interwoven locks, regardless of brand, tools used, or anything. There's some best practices, or some standards, or some things that I feel produce optimal results. And so I'm gonna give you 5 tips. And I think these are the 5 most important. They're all pretty important. Some are important in ways that aren't necessarily, that might surprise some people. And some are just pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's see some comments. Oh, hey, hi Sheila, hi Meredith. Excuse my delay because I can't see comments very soon. I actually can't really see myself. I see myself on like a minute delay. So I don't even know how I look. I'm just trying to fix myself, position myself in the footage, the frame here. I just wanted to make sure I got on time. So it's good to see you guys. All right, so the first tip, and those who have the ebook already know these 10 tips, but I also include some bonus tips in here. So, foundation. So foundations for anything are important, right? You think about building a house, foundations for your degree you're getting, you need foundational courses. Foundations in your hair is very important. The foundation for what I describe includes not just the grid and parting, but the actual lock itself. So it tends to be a lot of emphasis, and I talk about this all the time, on grid and evenness. And so a lot of people are showing pictures like this, like with hair, the ends all tied up, and you can't see the ends. Well, what I would say when I see that is, well, the foundation for me is also the lock. Let me see how your lock looks, the whole entire, at that install moment. So you make sure that things are tight and secure, things are, yes, neat and strong. The base is the right size for the lock you're doing, for the amount of hair that's there, all these things. Because things like weakened hair can also be due to the base being actually really small, And then what happens is there's some hair loss or some natural things that just happen in everyday wear and tear, and then that base becomes weakened because it wasn't strong enough to start with, or that lock swells a bit out of control because the tension wasn't as tight as it should have been, or I said the foundation, I said the installation process is 6 weeks. So that foundation period that's the time that you catch all these things. You make sure that when they come back, you're able to see, you're able to go in and correct that the hair is strong from the start. It sets it off really well. So when things do go awry, like in people's lives that cannot keep up with regular maintenance and things like that, there's a better chance for things to be reined back in. Thank you. Hi, Lisa. Lisa's a part of the team. Lisa is a part of the It's good to see you, Lisa. Yes, so that's the first thing, right? You have to have a good foundation for everything. The second thing, obviously, it leads into the quality of your locks. So what I talk about with, I break it down into 3 important areas. So I say, the quality of the lock first depends on the tension, which we talked about. Is it sufficiently strong with no loose areas, no gaps? What I find happens is if you do it too tight, like too quickly, if a foundation is created or install is done and is done kind of fast, when someone's going in and doing that pattern, it's easier to leave space. It's easier for things to not be consistent because it's being accelerated through. So it really is a good idea to take the time to do it right. Sometimes people have to just learn patience and say, yeah, we all would love to do things super quick in a super quick world, but sometimes quality takes a little bit more time. So when you do things and you allow yourself time to make sure that the tension and the spaces are not there, then you'll have a stronger lock, like a rope, like a chain, like a crochet. If you crochet yarn, one string of yarn, and let's say you're crocheting it and you get that like chain link, if you do it too fast, you do it too sloppy, spacey here, tight here. For just on aesthetics, it doesn't look very consistent, but in strength, like I say, a frayed rope in the areas that the rope is frayed or any chain is weak, that's where it can break. So you want to make sure that that's not there. The second point of that second area is to make sure that all the hair is locked into it. I often say, people sometimes have to decide, really decide, do you still want loose hair or do you want locks? Because locks is a whole other world. It's like the upside down world to loose hair. Everything that we've been doing with loose hair, keeping it conditioned, keeping it, and I say conditioned meaning like detangled, keeping it coated in products and silkened, is the complete opposite world of locks. And so with locks, when you have hair that's out and loose and you have hair that's matted together and you're trying to get it to look a certain way to be consistent, it's confusing. And that loose hair that's not pulled into that pattern foundation is going to go awry. And you're going to have to either make sure that that hair that's out is tended to as if it were loose hair, and then that hair that's locked is tended to as if it were locked, and then 2 different worlds. So it's kind of impossible to, I'm just going to condition the ends. Like, you're going to have craziness. So all the hair being locked and then creating the look you want is what you should go for. So if people are like, well, they used to say they liked curly ends. Some hair that's curly and it's newly done has hair that it looks curly, or the hair is the ends are much curlier because the hair is not fully locked. But you won't find a matured set of locks like that. Now you might find small pieces of hair at the very ends, but that's not something that's a normal thing for the end result of locks. So also though, sometimes the hair is left out, not because the client wanted to, but because it just wasn't pulled into the lock, and it's not being pulled into the lock. So we can only, like I said, you can only guarantee that what's being pulled into the pattern is what's going to lock. Okay. All right. So the third part of that Do the locks appear to have a strong foundation at the root? So adding on to the same thing we were saying in the first point about a good foundation is that I feel that there's a limit to how small you should make locks. I mean, I feel like people in general know that, but sometimes I feel that limits are pushed and there's such a small amount of hair in the foundation, or the foundation is compromised. Let's say the section is big, but there's breakage. So there's only really half of the hair in that section is long enough to be pulled into a lock, and the other part is just there. Or it's starting to thin, or something is happening. That foundation is not super strong. And so it should be something that happens on a professional level to make sure that if that area needs to be left alone until it's strong enough, or if there needs to be somebody with higher skill to make sure the foundations are strong in each of those locks. So I always say that microlocks should not be created with hair that's severely damaged or broken, or the hair that's in the process of thinning, because these are already thin and small as they are. So if you know for a fact, over time, this area is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. Creating microlocks in that area, it's very likely that you're going to have your locks, they're not going to be sustainable. All right. Hi, Queenie. Thank you so much. You guys can feel free to ask any questions. You can just sit and listen to me ramble. Thank you so much. Maintain a regular schedule is the third thing. So regular schedules, so I've said this a few times before, and it may be the social worker part of me, but yes, ideally you should maintain a schedule, but people have lives and people have things that happen, which is why we go back to the key number one about having a great foundation. But if at your very best, before you even make the decision to get it, or you've made the decision that you're going to really invest back into your hair, if you already have locks, make sure that you can, to the best of your ability, maintain a regular schedule. A regular schedule is about every 6 weeks, regardless of the type of way you lock your hair. Your new growth will be sufficient at 6 weeks. Think about if you've ever had a perm, that 6-week marker or 4 to 6 week marker is pretty standard, because that's just based on how humans' hair grows. So that's ideal. But I'm a hypocrite. Why am I a hypocrite? Those who know me, my clients know me, and I'm sitting here talking about maintaining a regular schedule, and I have 1,000 feet of new growth in my own head. But here's the beautiful thing about why sometimes it's not it's like a travesty. It's not so bad, but it's still bad that I don't do my own hair often. But because the foundation was done well, you guys are complimenting me on my hair. Thank you. But in my professional lens, my hair is not, it's not anywhere near where it should be, because it's not done, in some areas. And so, I am lenient with others because I know what life brings. But if you, to the best of your ability, maintain it. Maintenance is key. There's some people that can push their retightenings out to 12 weeks. And there's some people who, they know their hair. They know some people's hair grows at a different rate, and that's just reality. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people's hair just grows very slowly. Their hair's still healthy. There's nothing wrong with them. Genetics plays a role. I notice certain people from certain regions, or I just see some trends, but their hair is fine. Their hair just grows a little bit slower, so they can extend it out. A regular wash and treatment schedule for yourself, even. The beauty of having this hair is that you can wash your own hair and do it's very easy. So if you have a schedule, keep it. If you do tea rinsing, which I like to do, but I never really do it, keep it. If you know you need to boost up certain things because it's now winter, or because now you're more active, or it's summertime and you are sweating more, so you're going to need to keep your hair cleansed more, wash away dirt and oil more. Or it's wintertime, so you're going to cut back maybe on washing so you don't have excessive dry hair, but now you're going to step up. You're going to apply maybe some light oil to your scalp when you're past the beginning stages, or you're going to do something different to support the health and integrity of your hair. Keep that a regular schedule. I always say this as a key rule to avoid excessive products at any stage. Usually not the best thing. It usually builds up. But what I do want to say that I notice, especially like say in winter when you're wearing a lot of hats, a lot of lint accumulates, especially in the winter time. If you can be mindful of that. So that might mean wearing a satin bonnet, wearing covering your hair if you have bedding, or you're wearing like wool hats. Try to do as much as you can in that area because that does accumulate. It's very hard to get out. If it's just on the ends, I'm usually able to pull out the lint if it's easy to pull out. But you don't want to go digging and pulling, because when you do that, you pull out your fibers of your hair as well, and you weaken your lock, especially when they're this small. And you're picking out a lot of your hair, and you're ripping into the pattern. So just keeping mindful of that. Okay. Number 4, and this is like my biggest motto in life. Okay. It is like, just, I hear it all the time in my head, but less is more. Simplify, please. You can uncomplicate your life. I've always felt that the best results were achieved with minimal, just the power in things being minimal. So washing simply, it's so nice to not have to do the conditioning, pre whatever. I don't even know what I was doing. Well, my daughter, she just got her hair locked. She's 6. I just locked her hair, but before that, this Sunday was a 4-hour process. It was doing a wash. Then we did we might have did conditioner first, detangle, and then wash, and then condition again. But we had the finger detangle. And then when it was after it was washed, I advanced each section so that then we can go through the sections and style and oil. And it was just a lot. And so once her hair is locked, my daughter is so happy. She's so excited. She doesn't even think about her hair. Like, it's not a negative thing anymore, and it's so easy. We don't even seem like we wash that much either, because we're not using product. So why make such a simplified style complicated? I used to hear of people using like Wen and all these other products, and they would still try to wash and condition their hair in the same manner. I would advise against that, especially trying to put in all the conditioners. After you wash your hair, you honestly don't really need conditioner in that sense, but you don't need conditioner. I tell people, do not use conditioner. People, your hair is not going to fall off and be brittle. There are other ways that you can condition your scalp and hair to keep it strong and keep it nourished. So just find these other natural ways. Sometimes I'll take a light coating of, I have a hair oil. Sometimes I'll take that and just work it into my scalp and onto the ends a little bit, and that's it. Also know when your hair is wet, over manipulating it. So in the wash routine, I even tell my new installs, I don't do banding method. I don't, it makes me cringe to think about putting rubber bands in your hair while it's wet. Trying to pull it out. So I do say, what's the purpose of it? Think about what the purpose of everything is. What is the purpose of me doing this particular task? If people are instructed to band, the purpose was that you can expose your scalp, move your locks out the way, and get to your scalp and get it clean. And then as your sections were there, you're able to get in and you're able to focus on just the scalp and not have to rub your hair like this. But I realized you can accomplish that without having to put rubber bands in wet hair. So I tell people, if they're having trouble getting to their scalp, you can section it off with a light twist, or you can just move it out the way. I started with 4 inches of hair, so I didn't have that issue. My hair wasn't that long. It was like this long when I started. So I literally just moved my hair out the way, did this, moved it out the way, and that was so simple. I used a cast-style soap when I first started. I diluted it 1 part water to 1 part cast-style soap, and I sprayed it, put it in a spray bottle, and I sprayed it on my scalp, used my fingers, washed it, let the water drain it through, and that was it. Dry simply. I would just, and when it was done, A turbo, those turbo twisties, or press water out my hair. To this day, I do that. I washed my hair today and I put in a turbo twisty. I kept that on for like an hour. I went on the computer, I did some work, and then I took it down and just pressed it out. Sometimes newer hair that's more buoyant, more like shorter, can do this whole shake thing. I say shake up, no, shake yes, shake ear to shoulder. And it does like what a dog would do to fluff out the hair, and it gets so much water out that way. And that's it. Style simply. Most people say, I'm gonna do all these wonderful styles in my hair. And 90% of the people do not do regular crazy styles. And that's actually really good. Or they'll do simple styling, braid outs or something. And that's really good, especially in the first year, to just kind of keep it simple. Because I even noticed with my daughters, her lock's only 4 months old. I try to leave it out as much as possible, but it's in a ponytail. And I do see that her locking is a little bit hindered because it's in a ponytail. But when I can leave it out, just leave it out, or try to, sometimes we'll curl it. And by it being curled and being out, now the curls are like responding to the environment, responding to humidity, and they're doing their thing better, they're doing their thing faster. So if you keep styling it and it's newer, you could be delaying a little bit of the locking process. You just want to think about that. I'm not trying to discourage people from like styling, like go all out if you can, if you know how to do it, if it's done well, if it's not poking through your lock with pins to make holes or using teeth, then do it. But you'll find that, how do I say? I think because our locks are smaller, doing less is fine. It resembles more like bigger strands of hair, which tend to not need to, we don't really need to have to style it. You don't have to style any hair, really, to be honest. You don't have to style bigger locks. You don't have to style natural hair, but loose hair. But with it locked and this small, it is a style. It's kind of, it's, you know what I mean? So it's not like you have to pin it up and pull it up for it to look like something. It already looks as its own style. Minimize your use of products. I talked about that before. Less is always more. So simple products, no setting lotions, no gels. Be very I'm trying to pick my words because I never was the type of person to jump on bandwagons. And I know that there's a psychology to it that, people tend to hear a lot of something, they'll try it, but just try to be a little more discerning, or ask a professional if you are a client. If you're hearing a lot of like what people are using on YouTube or what people are using, and usually, it's usually, like, okay, that's not that serious, but I have heard stories in the past decade plus of people using things they heard people use on YouTube, and it wreaked havoc on their hair, and it was horrible. It wasn't what they thought it would be. So just think about that. But when I even set my own hair, I use water. Never ever have I used styling lotion. I put essential oils in water. So there's a whole big rose water kind of thing that I've been hearing trend, which I think is harmless. But I don't know how beneficial. Rose water is just pleasant, maybe has some mild soothing properties. I've always done actually lavender, 2 drops of lavender oil, like a big thing. Like, you don't need a lot of it. You should never use a lot of essential oil. And I thought that just gave me, it like freshened up. Or if I might do lemongrass oil. But water was always the best thing for me. And then your use of your retightening pattern, simplify it down. So again, I talked about with my method, we use a simple pattern that's been used for 99.9% of the client. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, it's been 100% of the clients I use this pattern for. If there's someone that comes in from someone else and they have a complicated rotation pattern, my early days, I was caught off guard, and it was a very uncomfortable encounter because that person, I guess I never was, I'm my own free agent, I always was. Inspired by existing brand, but I never was a part of formally. So my training and everything, grooming, has my grooming of my skills have always been innovative for what I've seen work and what my teachers have taught me. And so when that pattern came to me, I was a little bit sidetracked, and that person was very, very adamant about using this pattern. And I explained to them, well, I don't normally do this. I'll try my best. It became one of the most, and I think I was pregnant with my daughter, or I just had her. I feel like I was pregnant, very late, like late term. And so me standing and doing all this was a little bit strenuous as it was, but that person got very frustrated with me because I did not know their pattern, like a reverse 6-9. It was a back and forth pattern. And I honestly wanted to say to her, I didn't think that pattern was doing doing wonderful things for her hair. She could have got a 4-point pattern. I think it would have given her a much smoother lock, but I also didn't want to step on her toes. I tried my best, but I just want to say that if I had saw that throughout the length of the lock, that it was just so wow, like wonderful, I would have been like, wow, this is an effective thing. But didn't make any sense. It was more of a fixation on a structure that they thought was giving them some results. And that may work for some people, but people who I serve and people who I teach and people who are, get information from me and vice versa, the simplified life, the simplified pattern has produced the best results and the strongest results in our work. So I was always going to say that I promote that. Please think about making your life easier. And this last point, and if you guys have, I'm just looking here. I think I was trying to look at my comments and it froze, but hopefully you can see me okay. The last point, number 5, was redefining conditioning. And we touched on conditioning a little bit in the beginning points, one of the earlier points. And so here's a good rule of thumb when you're thinking about anything, but especially when it comes to your hair and this type of locks. Think about what the purpose of what that thing is that you're trying to do. What is, so simplifying it all the way down, what are you trying to achieve? So you're thinking about conditioning, you're like, what is the purpose of conditioning, right? So it's to make the hair, sometimes it softens up the hair, it should boost the health of it, sometimes the shine of it, sometimes it makes it more manageable, but it balances out. So conditioning could have different purposes. If people are getting color, then conditioning does a stabilizing effect after all the effects of what the color had to do to the hair itself. Conditioning then goes in and it does something to help that. Conditioning after washing, what is the purpose of that? And what is the purpose just of overall conditioning? What are you trying to achieve? Okay, so I also say it should be nourishing. It should be replacing back things and maybe that was stripped. And trying to think of, yeah. So if you're washing away oils, you're washing away product and dirt, and then you're going in and conditioning, then I'm getting a lot of notifications. Then you, conditioning for loose hair has been designed to go in and replace and soften, and make it more manageable. But for locks, it's a little bit different, right? Some people say, yeah, you want to soften up your hair, you want to make it healthy, you want to balance it out, balance the pH in it. So that's why I always was a fan of like tea rinsing as a conditioning, which seems so weird because it's water with nutrients in it. The tea absorbs into the hair, it balances out pH, it does these things. That's what you want. Also, for more advanced clients who have locks a little bit longer, I was a fan of avocado conditioning, or avocado banana, like the natural oils in fruits and vegetables, like fruits, were very helpful. Like avocado is a fatty vegetable. Is that vegetable? And yeah, and so so now there's avocado oils. You can use an oil as well. I have a hair oil, and you can use it as in a conditioning way as well. So that's the purpose of it, is to nourish and infuse back nutrients. Loose hair, it was more to detangle, to deposit back onto the hair, all these things that we don't want. We don't want things well, we don't want our hairs coated with something slick and slippery. So that now it is going against the locking process. It's softening up your lock. It's loosening up the mat that was there, the matted hair. It's loosening it up. I've taken down 4-year-old locks, locks that were 4 years old. And they were not micro locks, they were traditional locks, because it's pretty challenging if you try to do it 4-year-old for locks that are 4 years old with micro locks to take them down. These are a little bit bigger, by the size of my pinky, and I combed them all down in 2 days with just conditioner and water. That's just the power of it. It completely detangled all her matted hair. So we want our conditioning not to detangle, nourish, balance, and restore, and also seal in moisture. Okay. Hair steaming for mature locks, that's also another good conditioning. And that can be done, usually I think of steam treatments more when in the colder times. Steam treatments can happen anytime, but I tend to think about them more because my hair feels drier in the winter. And so that can be done. I've done it a few times. You do notice a difference. I sit under it maybe, I don't know, half an hour or so. Right, so that's my 5 points. And there's 10 actual key tips, and there's a bonus one in there that I think is so important. But what I did want to announce was, what time is it? Oh, it's only 3:35. So because you're hearing this live, you may already have this ebook. But in case you don't, as soon as I get off, I'm going to place it for free here in this group until 6 p.m. And then after 6 p.m., it'll only be 99 cents for today and tomorrow. So on my website. So if you're interested in hearing about the rest of this, and also, so yeah, these are 10 key tips, and I come up with more information in my lives. You have you're in this group, so you know about the lives. You're here because I think you've heard about it and you joined the group. You may have been through the last 2. Or at least one of them. And so I will be having my next live series, and that is going to start on March 16th, 3/16, Monday, March 16th. So look out for that. I'm going to go live here in this group. I do it for 3 days. And you follow along. I give you materials, I give you workbooks, I give you other things to try to give you things I find will be helpful for you and that will support you in your journey in this realm here. And I want to make sure I mention all my points that I'm going to mention. Right. So I'm going to post this up just as soon as I get off of here. I'm just going to connect the link here for the ebook. You can get that. And also wanted to let you guys know, so those who are, first of all, I want to welcome the new students that are in the Microloc Mastery course. It's an online 6-week course. You have new students in the I see Lisa in the thread, and I'm so excited to have you in the course. And so what you learn is everything. How to start, how to do a consultation, how to install, how to retighten. And towards the end, then you're getting your certificate. I'm assessing your work. You have homework to do in between the modules. You take your time. You do it 24 hours of the day. Anytime you want to log in and do the coursework, you do it. And then you're part of the network, and then you start getting people funneled to you if you decide that you'd like to do this and earn income and do this as a profession. It just really enhances your skills and helps you grow. So that's what the live, that's what the online 6-week training. And those who are still interested, I think on this page there is a 10% link. You can book anytime, you can enroll anytime. So that's on there. I just wanted to let you guys know that. What else? Other points? Yeah, I think that is it. for this, there's a bonus tip in here that I feel is like the most important bonus tip in this ebook. When you get to it, see what it is and tell me if you agree. And any other comments, any other questions that anybody has before I end this live? And I'll probably be seeing on a delay. All right. I think if there's anything else I want to add. No. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I gave you some key tips that I felt were super important to Magnificent Microlocs and all small interwoven locks, and really locks in general, but specifically small interwoven locks. Jessica Marshall of Naturally Beautiful Hair Care, Microloc Mastery. You can always check out the information on microlocmastery.com. You can also go to microloctraining.com. My ebook that's going to be for 99 cents. After you guys get your, if you don't get your free download before 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can go to naturallybeautifulhaircare.com and go to the shop, or you can do /shop. And it's there, 99 cents. You can just grab it. And when you grab the ebook for free, you also get the Powerful Beauty Affirmations as a download. If you don't already have it, you can get it again, and you'll get that for free. So it's just a way to get some information and to help support you. I think that the beauty affirmations I actually pulled from the depths of my soul. Seriously, I was sitting in my backyard. I am a licensed social worker, and I've had this business for over 10 years. And through all the times of my life where I felt I needed support and needed affirming of my beauty, I've had a baby through this time. I've gone through ups and downs with how I felt about myself. And I said, I think it's really important, because as I start to incorporate affirmations into my own life again, I incorporate affirmations and I go up and down with how I use them, depending on how, sometimes I forget. When I put them back into my life, I start to see the changes. So I said, our beauty is surface of what's deeper. So if we can affirm our value all the way through to the core. So I created those beauty affirmations in my backyard. I spent all day. I try to format it to look pretty. And I said, hey, you know what? I just want to give this to people. If I can give them some positivity, if I can help another woman feel, or a woman help another person, and maybe she's like, oh, I'm good, but I want to give this to my daughter. Or, I know a woman, like, this is just cute. Let me just hang it up. Maybe somebody will read it. And that was the purpose. So that you get that for free when you get the ebook for 99 cents. If you sat in on the last live, it was posted here on this page. It might still be here. I'm not sure. I think I might have taken it off, but you can get it. And just know the overall reason why I do all these things and why I do what I do is really an underlying message of empowerment. Empowering you through information, empowering you with resources and skills that you then can turn into whatever you'd like for it to be for you, whether it's just like, maybe you don't need empowerment. I don't know, but I feel like if I can put something out there that someone can find beneficial in some way. So maybe you just want to know what to do with your hair. Maybe you want to know what to do with your clients, or you do know what to do. And this is just something added reinforcement that there's empowerment. And yes, I said goodbye like 20 minutes ago. So with that, I am formally signing off. It was great to chat with you guys, and have a good rest of your Sunday.